going. And my screen is shared. Good. So let me start off by introducing our first presenters. So today we're joined by Dylan and Justin from CM Solutions. You may recognize Dylan as he was a presenter at last year's user conference, and we presented on the use of Schedule Validator data and the API around the Los Angeles area airport group. And so he's here to kind of introduce kind of the next phase of what they're doing with our data in that area. And then he will be, after they present, we will be presented with David Zhang, who's working for Schedule Validator and is helping build out some of the initial templates that will be available to you as part of our library as we get started rolling this out more formally to customers. If you're interested in continuing the conversation around API after this discussion today, please put in the chat plus, the word plus, and we will reach out to you and schedule a meeting to go over specifically your data ideas and requirements and that type of thing. Make sure that everyone's gets covered off on any one-off questions they might have. But with that being said, Dylan, let me turn it over to you, and we'll get started.
Hey everybody, I'm just getting to get my screen up here. So real quick, this is kind of where we were last year. I don't know if everybody was there, but at the conference last year, but basically we were able to bring in some interesting information at the overall project level, but we weren't able to like dig into the details. So I'm in Power BI right now, and we were trying to just kind of replicate all the great reporting that's already in Schedule Validator so that you could use it with other reports or dashboards or different ways to share the data outside of Schedule Validator. Because as we know, not everybody is in that software. It's so powerful, though. We want to get more of the great information coming out of Schedule Validator in the hands of your team and all your stakeholders. Everybody that should see this data that will drive change and impact the projects in a positive way. That's the kind of the goal. Share the data timely to everybody that needs to see it. So you see kind of just an overview of a bunch of projects. One thing we could do is kind of put on like a cool little map view, that kind of stuff. But you'll see now, and we've only been working on this for about a week, so there's a bunch of stuff we need to improve on in here. But what we're able to do is bring in a whole bunch of new tables so that you see our table list is much longer with all kinds of specific information to each schedule. And as a result, you can kind of dig in to, this is a project view versus a portfolio view. First off, so we'll have the portfolio view set up next, but just one project at a time. You can look at all the quality metrics. You can dig into each activity that's driving the metrics, start building action lists of all your out of sequence activities or constrained activities or anything else you want to see. Eventually, you'll be able to build a monthly status report that just prints right out of here. Maybe we'll roll that right back into Schedule Validator too. So we'll figure out how it all works, but it's just like a cool way to play around with the data, figure out what's useful, make little proof of concepts here, communicate back to Schedule Validator. They'll get better, we'll get better. But basically the whole community can use more of this data easier. You'll see that we built a kind of a first pass at how all the data interplays with each other. Each of these lines is connecting like activity ID mostly between the different tables. Eventually, we should be bringing in everything out of P6 as well, or whatever software you're using for scheduling. So you can do a Gantt view too in here. So there's just a lot of really cool things we'll be able to do. So kind of went a little quick through it. Is there any questions from the group on kind of what we're trying to do or what you want for these types of reports?
I don't see any questions yet, nothing in the chat thus far. David, can you maybe just talk a little bit about, I think you addressed this during the user conference last year, but maybe just around how you use the data to interact with the team with regards to not only your internal team, but with the general contractors that you guys or the owners you're supporting?
Uh, who do you ask?
I was asking Dylan.
Oh, okay.
Say
Sorry.
David, sorry. I think.
Can you hear me, Dylan?
Yeah, what was the question?
Sorry, can you maybe elaborate a little bit further? I think you did this during the user conference about just kind of how you use this data to interact with your owners you work with, as well as general contractors you work with. A lot of the audience here was not at the user conference, and maybe some of these people have more experience than others, but just kind of at a base level, how did you see using the data?
Yeah, sounds good.
Here?
I'll go. So I'll take a step back. I'm so excited about the new data. I've already moved there in my brain. But one thing we can do in Power BI is you can choose to put key dates onto plans. It's pretty easy to do. But now with all the new data we're getting from Schedule Validator, you can also put some of the metrics about these different activities on there as well. So if you had out of sequence pour, you could color that. So it's like you're not just looking at a data table, you're actually looking at your plan, and then red and yellow flags will pop up on your plan. So this is a plan of all the waffle pours, all the concrete pours we'll be doing on a large project. So everybody could look through, see what's in progress, completed, things that are late would color, things that are, the schedule quality needs to be reviewed would color. Same here. This is like a clean room. Each room like has a bunch of things that have to happen. So it's an easy way to take the data and information of the schedule and share it with people. But now we'll also have the quality metrics too that we'll be able to add on top of these types of reports. So that's why I'm very excited and kind of skipping forward to the next step that I want to do. But yeah, anything you want to do. These are fire rated doors on a project. Here's fire alarm testing by building, tank repair. So there's just a whole bunch of things that you can do in here. Justin is helping us build comprehensive dashboards that have every key metric, whether it's cost, schedule, quality, etc. And then you can deep dive into each section and figure out what's dragging you down or what issues you need to talk about in your next meeting and resolve. So we already have a lot of good project data from other systems, and now we can pop in all the great data that comes out of Schedule Validator too.
Hey Todd, this is Jody. Can I ask you a question, please?
Yeah, please go ahead, Jody.
Thanks, and I'm sorry if this has already been demoed a previous time, but at one point we were talking about being able to trace to a particular milestone. So as opposed to the project completion. So if you had like I don't know, mechanical completion on a particular part of a plant, that you'd be able to do all those same reports up to that milestone. Is that functionality there and I just missed it?
We will be able to do that. So I'll go back to maybe this milestone here. Some things you can do in Power BI that's really nice is if you're curious about why this date was say 4/15, you could set up where you hover over it and it could provide the steps through to get to that date, or you could right click on it and it would take you to another view to do your investigation.
So I was looking for like the same sort of reports towards a particular milestone. So if you were looking at a sequence or critical path to that milestone and things, are we in a position to do that?
Yeah, so here, like I said, this is very fast. We've only been working on it this week.
Okay.
But we're able to bring this in. So the next step would be you go here. It's not set up, but you right click and then there's a drill through and you'd set up another page that would answer what you want to see on what's driving this. So you could we haven't done it yet, but in theory, set up a view of different flow paths.
Yeah, I think that's very valuable because especially when you have multiple contractors working on a project and you want to see, what's the critical path or what's changing in the work that's in their scope. So that's terrific. I'm really happy that's in there.
And then also we'll be adding filters. So it'll be like which trade up here. So when this out of sequence list gets longer, you can look trade by trade, or there's just a lot of ways you can slice and dice the data really easily once you have it all. And you'll see like each of these tables brings in, each of the information Yeah, we only have one project in here, but here's like activities out of constraint. So it brings in these simple tables. I think we're going to be working for portfolio level to make this a larger table, and it'll add project codes to it too. So then whenever you're working, whenever you make something, it'll work on your next project very easily too.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody.
Yeah, so some of these are longer tables, but yeah, the goal is to make it where it's efficient. You'll set up something that works well for one project and it'll work well for all your projects. And then each of these visuals are very customizable. So once you get the data set up, you can make the visuals work however you like very quickly. I think Justin set up, all these visuals in an hour, both these pages.
Perfect. Alex had a question in the chat here. Compared with just viewing the XER data directly, how does the Schedule Validator add value for some of these plan view, color-coded reports, and things like the out-of-sequence views?
Yeah, so very basically, Schedule Validator has a lot of important metrics. So instead of looking at your progress and your plan on one page and then go into Schedule Validator and seeing how healthy your schedule is, it'll be in one spot. So decision makers won't have to go call the scheduler and find out information about the quality of the schedule or open another report. They'll very quickly say, how confident are we of this date? Well, it's the schedule has a 99% rating. It's green. Like, they'll know right there. Or they'll click another thing, goes, oh crap, this schedule's not good. Like, we need to go fix that schedule because this date's too important to have a bad schedule. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, we've seen this a couple times with a couple other customers who are using Schedule Validator and the API to kind of cleanse the data prior to putting it into their risk application, just to be sure that the risk is articulating a better value based upon clean data going into it originally. So that's been one work case, one example that we've just recently done with a customer that seems to be really speeding up that process for them. Great. Well, Dylan, thanks so much for that. David Zhang, let's give you a chance here to maybe just share your thoughts on what with your role and responsibility here and how you're helping a customer. I'll share my screen here with this. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yes.
All right,
There's like a
I
weird
know.
lock, right?
I don't know what the heck. How do you get rid of that thing? There it goes. Okay.
All
Perfect.
right.
So
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead and talk about this, Todd. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm just helping Schedule Validator with some of the backend stuff. The intent is to enable the API to be connected to the Power BI template, and then for anyone who's using the template to have essentially log in with their credentials and be able to access all the database backends that are being hosted by Schedule Validator. And the intent is that the template itself is going to be pretty much massaged in the sense that business power users, etc., can kind of just use this template and be able to access kind of like all those data pieces in a like just like what was shown just earlier through I think Dylan. He's showed you guys all those data pieces, right? But the idea is to make it so that the template is already built in with preset like visuals, etc., but also have access to the raw data. Well, not so much raw, but it's going to be like kind of translated and massaged so that it's usable by the business. And then you guys can kind of build your own analytics on top of that. And that way you can access also the data directly. So that's the intent right here. Hopefully this diagram kind of gives you an idea. You can, pretty sure you can request for this information from Todd later on. The intent is like Schedule Validator hosts the data, and we have all this data and in our databases. And then in the Power BI template that we're going to create, it's going to basically you're going to get this template, you can input your validation, and then through the mechanism built in to the template, it will just call the data and be able to draw in the various databases, etc. into this template, and then you can simply use the template from that perspective and kind of deploy on your own environment, however you want to build it within the Power BI Fabric workspace. Yeah, and the intent is it could be an iterative process where, you know, if you guys want changes to how this template is made, we can make changes, etc. But yeah, any questions about that or how that works? I mean, I kind of skimmed over it, but I mean, there's a lot of nuances to it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, and for those that are on the call, if you want to spend some time working with David and Dylan and our team, just please put in plus into the chat here, and we'll set up a time. Courtney, Steve, or myself will reach out and work with you as to what your specific data needs are and what you're trying to accomplish, and then we can come up with the right model for you. Dylan kindly put his information here in the chat, and so. Please reach out to us and we'll be happy to set that up for everybody. Again, just the next steps, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to get rid of this box. I'm not a Zoom guy typically, but anyhow, it will not go away from me. But yeah, can I get it? Oh, there it goes. Okay. So the next steps, again, just put plus in the chat if you're interested in the plus endpoints being added to your subscription. We're going to open up the complete API for our customers, for a short period of time, probably between now and the user conference happening in May. And then at that point in time, we'll reach out to our current customers who already have a contract with us, subscription with us, and we will help them either convert their subscription to the pay by project, which will allow you to have access to the more robust API, or you can remain with the per user model, which will still give you a lot of endpoints. And I can go through that with you on the Swagger account as to what those are specifically. Yeah, so I think that's really the next best step, and we'll certainly work with you to make sure that you're getting the maximum value out of the API as we move forward.
And Todd, I think it's fair to say at the conference we could show both versions, so you can even try it out and see which one's right for you. Like, do you get enough data from one, or do you really want more data?
Yeah, and that's really kind of the purpose of opening it up for everybody, especially as we go through this list with folks that want to take advantage of that. Let's give everybody access to data, see what they can gain as far as a use case or something that their customer or they internally might need to use out of the API plus data set. It may not be applicable to everybody. Some people are not yet quite along the line of using APIs and the Power BI type of environments. But if you are and you're interested in learning more about that, we're happy to work with you and go forward from there. So I see a number of people put a plus in here, so thank you for that, for sure. Okay. Any other questions for David, Dylan, any of the team members here?
What's the timeline on this?
So for Eric, you're in the system already. So this is available for you today. You're already a plus subscriber or the pay by project subscriber. So we can certainly sit down with you and go through making sure it gets turned on for you. But you, I know in particular, are already subscribed to that model.
Okay. Is there a template that's available right now?
There is not a template available today, but we are very close on doing that. And the purpose of today's call was to see if we got any additional feedback, questions, that type of thing. But I think we'll have something for you as a template, probably early next week type of time frame.
Okay.
So
It also might be where we'll send one next week and then maybe send you a better one the following week. So we'll try to get all the best information out to the group as quickly as possible. Also, if you find out something, Eric, that helps the team, we'll incorporate that too.
Yeah, I think we're all a little bit on a learning path here of what exactly is capable. We get a lot of great ideas from our customers. The kinds of conversations we've been having the last couple of weeks have been really insightful about taking this data and integrating with PMIS systems. We've been talking about integrating with risk profiles, risk systems out there. We've even worked with some of our owner type of customers who are tying this into the financial resources capability of their various systems, learning management systems. So I think the list is pretty endless. But again, we have a very basic, easy to use Swagger account for the access to the API and the data. If you don't have that already, I'll make sure to get that over to everybody, a link via this an email. Will go out here in just a second.
So Todd, I have a question about like the in terms of like connecting to the dashboard. Can we like have like a training? Do you guys also do a training just to make sure like connect for like the Power BI rookies who are like at a very basic level, just how to connect APIs and then how to understand the tables? Like, is there like any provision for that?
So we don't have we have some recorded like kind of walkthroughs which I can provide to you. We don't have any like written documentation yet as far as the process, but initially
Just a one-on-one trainings,
yeah,
just to connect.
Let's set up a call, and I can again. Everybody can access the API keys via their enterprise administrator, and in the view of your Schedule Validator environment, if you go to enterprise admin, you'll see an area where you can create your API key. And then we can walk you through how to utilize that API key into the Power BI environment and walk you through that process.
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, great. Any other questions from the team or the group here? Again, thanks, David, Dylan. Thank you very much, and Jason, for making the effort here to help us get this set up for the benefit of all of our customers, and we're really excited about where we're headed with this. And if I can't reiterate enough, please join us for the user conference. I think you'll see a kind of a big release of all the templates and the things that we're working on across the customers, and we have 2 specific presentations being made during the event. If you remember Dr. Simone Pacchi's presentation on the predictability modeling, we're going to be really enhancing that demonstration and what now is available to you. Obviously using the API, but also now tying into some machine learning functionality. And then obviously Dylan will be back again on the front stage, presenting a little bit more about the API and his specific use cases for that in his consulting business. So look forward to having you guys join us there. And if there's no other questions, we'll get back to work. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.